Hey there, Jedediah Thomas, the Mind Master here. So, I really wanted to talk about kind of the overall healing journey and what happens in a session with me versus, things that you might want or need to do outside of a session. How I work in a session is very much like you're driving your car into the mechanics. You just show up, leave it there, and they fix the problems, right? And that's really what it is. There's not really much you can do in the way of preparation except kind of understanding what a trauma is and what information I need. The more information that you give me ahead of time, the more it can expedite a trauma removal. So if you want to have it all sorted out, every detail written out ahead of time, we can just go bang, 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 bang. We might be able to knock out 5, 10, 15 traumas in a single session back to back. And the more you're aware of what your problems are, um, I'm still on the fence about this. Like I'm not 100% sure whether it is legitimately possible to see your own belief layer, which is like, outside of your physiology and whatnot. It's obvious to me when I'm talking to people what that layer is, but I think your mind has defenses against seeing your own. I Out of everything that I work on, I had to have someone else help me see and shift my own beliefs. So just so you know, it's not something that I can do and nobody else can. It's like literally I don't think it's humanly possible to do unless I get proof otherwise. But the more you are aware of your symptoms and how that shows up, the easier it's going to be to locate that layer, what issue is with that underlying code, and then I mentioned on one of the other videos that it only really takes like a couple minutes to fix that, but it takes a lot of digging sometimes to get to that layer. So the more digging you do yourself, and you get to the point where it's like I've isolated kind of what it is, but I don't know what it is. I can't see it. You're probably arriving at that level, right? Where it's just like completely invisible to you. You can see everything around it, but that's like invisible. It's probably that level. The more you're in tune with your thoughts, your emotions, your behaviors, anything that is not exactly the way that you want it, is going to be a starting point for us digging down and fixing those root issues. So the more you can actually be aware of that, whether that requires meditation or therapy or journaling or whatever, right? Or, even talking with a spouse or a friend and just having a sounding board, the more information you equip yourself with when you arrive on a session, the more we can do on a session and the more stuff that we can fix. And if you're not able to do that on your own, you don't know how to troubleshoot that, I'm more than happy to dig with you on a session, right? And we can go through all of that, but it's just going to be a lot more digging and a lot less fixing. So, especially with that underlying code layer, it can genuinely take 2 hours of digging just to get to one level of code that needs to change. That's how deep it is. It's deeper than hypnosis and whatnot. And it's like, oh, it's a quick fix, but it took 2 hours to get there. If you could do that 2 hours yourself before the session, right, and we can just knock it out, knock it out, knock it out, we might be able to even do, 5 or 10 beliefs shifted during a session. And who knows how many that you're going to need. So there's that side of it. In terms of preparation is just awareness of, what you need to fix. I don't expect you to be an expert on it, but the more that we fix, the more you see what needs to be fixed, the more you see my methodologies, the more you're going to have an idea of, okay, I'm looking for this or this or this, and this is kind of a general idea, and then you come to me whenever you get stuck, and then that's where we basically start. Basically, I break through the stuff that is impossible to break through on your own. Now, on that note, there's a lot of, say, like after session work in terms of emotional processing that you're probably going to have to do, especially when we remove a trauma. It's almost like you have a dam, a wall of water, right, of emotion, and I break that dam that's impossible for your mind to break, and all of that just wants to flood out, right? And so you might be crying for a couple days, you might have emotional releases, you might have physical releases, right? You've just got to let all of that kind of work its way out of your body. I always tell people to drink a lot of water, get a lot of rest, especially the night as we do a session and the night after. because your entire mind is going to be rewriting itself, possibly for several days, if not a little bit longer than that, right? The work that I do is instantaneous and quick, but your mind keeps rewriting itself over a few days as a result of that. So, especially with like trauma removal, you might have a headache for a couple days. You might feel a little disoriented. Like it's almost like nuking your brain. It's really powerful stuff that I'm doing with the belief shifting. Tends to be a little less emotional, but it'll take a little bit for your mind to fully rewrite all of the code around the code that we change. Um, the spiritual stuff can take you out definitely for a day or two. Uh, More of like a physical feeling, less emotional, less logical, just kind of like just energetic purge. Um, and then you just along with the awareness, right? There might be other stuff that you need to work through that you could work through on your own. Things like, grief, which is mechanically different than a trauma. So let's say, as an example, you have a loved one pass away, uh, like let's say you watch them die or something like that, right? It's a traumatic event. So we can fix that trauma, but you're still probably going to have a lot of grief and whatnot that you're going to have to process. So I have like a grief doc that you can do on your own. That's not something I can do for you, or any other emotional processing. You have to kind of treat what I do as an accelerator more so than a replacement for other stuff that you're doing until the other stuff gets replaced, right? Eventually, the longer we work together, the more it's going to replace all of the other stuff. But especially when you're starting out, you need to have a balance of what you're doing. You need to process your emotions. You need to be generally healthy, in mind and body. And if you still need to continue going to therapy, don't stop it until you need to stop it, right? Or if you're on vacation or whatever, uh, like when you don't need it anymore, you'll know, right? But until that point, don't don't just jump off the ship and then try and swim to what I'm doing, because there's like a period of healing, right? So I just want you to kind of be aware. You don't necessarily have any homework for me. I mean, if you want to do journaling, you can, or I might recommend a book or something if you want to learn more about a specific topic. But the work that I do is on the sessions, and that's it. But then the work that you do is just your own healing journey that I can't do for you. I can't process your emotions. I can tell you how to process them, but you ultimately have to do the work to do it. I can tell you how to get awareness of this stuff, but ultimately you have to find the awareness yourself, right? You've got to be in your own mind and exploring your feelings and sensations in your body. Like I said, I can point you how to do that, but I can't do it for you. But once you hit those blocks that it's literally impossible for you to do yourself, that's where I come in. So there's got to be a balance, right? Healing yourself and then coming to me, and then healing yourself and then coming to me. And as long as you kind of have that bigger picture perspective, then you're going to make a lot more progress than if you just kind of show up and then we spend 2 hours digging and it's okay, we changed one code and then there might be 20, 30 that need to change. So you're going to be like, okay, well, I feel a little different, but it didn't fix the problem. Okay, well, there's a lot more changes that need to happen, and we spent all the time just digging, digging, digging. All right. And that's fine. Like if that's how you want to spend our time together, that's fine. I don't mind doing it, but just so you're aware, it's a lot more efficient if you kind of take an active role in your healing as well and do what you need to do on your end. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions on that, drop a comment. I have resources on some of this stuff, things that will help you process your grief. Eventually, I want to do an actual kind of general emotional processing manual, which is, beyond just grief, but the grief document works for that. So I have a lot of resources. But just know that it's kind of a dance. I do my part, you do your part. But as far as the actual session itself, you just show up and let me fix you. And that's how I work. So hope you enjoy the channel. Take care. Bye.